Welcome to Talks with Purpose. On this podcast, we bring in guests and interview them on their beginnings, middle, and purpose. We bring in guests that have a special influence and made it to a level that is worth praise and exploration. We hope that we can dive into different stories and inspire you, the audience, to find your own purpose. My name is Jay Purposeful, and I'm the CEO and founder of Minds with Purpose.
What's up? My name is Phil. I'm the COO of Minds with Purpose. And on today's show, we have the founder and CEO of Mathmatik Athletics, a premium sportswear brand dedicated to empowering athletes with cutting-edge designs and high-performance fabrics. He is a community leader, and he organizes community events, bringing basketball fans and some of the heaviest hitters in the city together for his creation, Neighborhood Watch Party, to celebrate our basketball team here in Boston. We are super excited and happy to have on our show Peda Edouard.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah, how you feeling today?
I'm tired, but I got some water, and I'm excited. So I feel like this conversation is gonna give me enough energy. So
We're super excited to have you here today. You know, you inspired both of us. That event we went to, we had a lot of fun, we could say.
Yeah, it was lit. We met
sure.
some people, shook some hands, and just met new people. It was cool. And we saw some familiar faces as well.
Yeah, all around it was super dope. But let's get right into it. Growing up in JP, started off playing basketball in different neighborhoods, designing basketball shoes, being inspired by music, fashion, and the culture. What was your goal in life growing up? I know that the creative life and entrepreneurial one might not be an easy path to take, but what was your experience in Boston and how did it lead to where you are today?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm originally, born in Miami, Florida, so
Okay.
I always gotta make sure.
Shout out to 305.
Yeah, shout out to Miami. I hope this doesn't change the whole interview because
Nah, you're good. It's all about authenticity.
Yeah, no, for sure. Also, too, just a disclaimer. I'm not even gonna say that, man. Go Celtics.
Yeah.
For sure.
But now, growing up, I came to Boston. I came to Boston 1998 or 1999.
Okay.
And my family was up here and moved. My first neighborhood was JP.
Okay.
I lived across the street from English High School. We had a park right there. So
Lynn English High School?
oh no, Boston English.
Boston English.
Yeah.
Okay.
So me and my cousins, we grew up hooping, and like I said, my first neighborhood was Jamaica Plain, and I was literally like a basketball fiend. Like that was the only thing you'd always see me with my basketball, and that was how I was.
You was nice back then?
I was nice. I'm not gonna hold you. I was
seen that
nice.
they brought you to different neighborhoods to ball.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah. So going back to what I was saying, like hooping made me because again I'm like the only boy. I have 4 sisters, so playing basketball allowed me to create friendships through ball. So yeah.
Awesome. And how do you feel like that led to where you are today? Being inspired by basketball, music, fashion, culture.
Yeah.
How did it lead to kind of where you are today? And like we were speaking before this, being an entrepreneur is not easy. So why did you choose this passion?
Yeah. So I mean, to keep it a bug, I thought I was gonna go to the league. My growth spurt never came in, and the only talent I think I had, or visible talent that I had at that time, was being an artist. Like I used to, draw, and I was, talented, and literally creating anything from my imagination and then putting it on paper. So once I figured out all right, I'm not going to the league, I need to figure out how to make a living, and being an artist was my route. But I also didn't want to be a broke artist. You know what I mean? I hated that whole notion of you only get critical acclaim when you're dead.
Facts.
And I was I gotta figure out how to make money as an artist. So doing clothing, that was my first outlet. So I started figuring out all right, let me try to put together stuff on t-shirts and stuff. So yeah,
Definitely.
really cool. And you mentioned in your vlog that you worked at New Balance Security for 4.5 years, picking the brains of the people who worked there, and you quit, you went to LA, and you met Emory Jones of Rock Nation along your journey. When you took that first step to LA and in meeting Emory Jones, how did that push and inspire you to take the next step with mathematics. And do you remember some of the advice that he gave to you?
Yeah, so when I was working, so before my security job, I was working at this renter car, like a car rental
like
service.
Enterprise?
Yeah, like Enterprise. It was like I forget the name of it. But anyways, I was let go, and I ended up applying for a security job, and then I didn't know where they was going to put me, and they just so randomly placed me at 10 Guest Street, which is New Balance headquarters.
Oh wow.
So it was just like serendipitous.
When it was crazy, I just got chills down my back, like no lie, because literally today I asked Phil, where should I get dropped off? Because I was supposed to take the train here. I missed the train. I ended up getting a ride from my sister's boyfriend, and he told me to go to Guest Street to the headquarters. So it's crazy. I just had to stop and say that. Like
that's why.
It was serendipitous, man, and I was just like, my first day there, I was just like, what the heck? I'm at New Balance. This is $1 billion like sneaker, apparel, a sports apparel company. So I was there for 4.5 years, and for me, that was like my education, bro. Like I literally had the keys to every floor, and I knew everyone that was there. I knew who worked in the marketing department. I knew who worked in sales. So all that was like available to me, and then I saw everyone come in. So it's like. Saying good morning to everybody, and really just building connections and really just like figuring out like, all right, who could help me with what I got going on. So it was just like random and me being lucky. So
and then leaving to LA and meeting Emory Jones, like how was that?
Yeah, so 2012 was the year I was like trying to figure it out, man. Like I felt, as a creative, I was like, I felt like I had to leave Boston. I don't feel that way anymore, but just at that time, I was like, I need to figure out how do you make it as an artist? And when I was working, like a shift, and my business partner, Mike, was just saying, he had just told me about like I guess they had an event in New York, and he was like, yo, if you want to pull up to New York, we got something. And he didn't give me too much information. He was like, yo, you want to pull up to New York? There's like an event. I think it was like an NFL draft or something like that. Really cool. And I was like, hey, I'm down. And with
the no information, like I'm down.
Yeah, I was like, I'm down. I'll pull up.
Yeah.
So
you gotta be like that sometimes.
We go to New York, and then he's like, I gotta drop off some sneakers to a friend of mine. And I was like, all right, word. And we get to New York. And we get to this lobby, so, marble everywhere, right? And we get in the elevator, like 36th floor, whatever, opens up. I see Sean Carter Enterprise, and I'm like, oh shit, this is this is where we at. This is Rock Nation. And I was like, yo, this is nuts. So I'm looking at the plaques. I'm looking at like. Jay-Z's plaques and stuff. And Emory Jones comes. This is my first time ever meeting him. I heard of Emory through like Jay-Z's music. So I was like, to finally meet him, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So we go in, right? We go into this office, and he's like, yo, there's someone I want you to meet. I think I'm about to meet Jay-Z. I didn't meet Jay-Z.
That would have been crazy.
Not yet.
So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So Emory's talking to Mike. He's like, yo, I want to introduce you to somebody. So we walk into this room. This is the BBC room. And in the room, there's this guy who, his name's Alexander John. He's a designer. And there's a bunch of like BBC collections. Billionaire Boys Club. Really cool. So we're in that like showroom. And the thing that stood out the most of like about that whole time was, one, we were all black. And Emory was like, yo, he basically was like, yo, take a moment here, right? Like, yo, like this is powerful. Like us all at this table is powerful. So that's what I like walked away with, was just like this shit's possible. You know what I'm saying? Like if you know Emory's story, like like he came from adversity and all of that, and was able to like change the situation. And I was like, yo, this was dope. And at that time, again, it was 2012. I had just started coming up with ideas for a collection, the Malcolm X collection, the By Any Means collection, and I was like, yo, I gotta say something like that. The entire time I was in that meeting, I didn't say anything. I was a little nervous, so I was like, man, I gotta say something. And Emory, walks up. He took a phone call real quick, and I'm like, I'm gonna say something now. So I introduced myself. I was like, my name is Peda Edouard. I have a clothing company called Mathmatik, and I'm working on the collections, a Malcolm X collection. Malcolm X was my mentor, or distant mentor. Like I always looked up to him. And I was like, I'm about to drop this 2013, and shared like the pic, and everybody was like, oh, this is dope. So I was like, I'm good.
Some weight off your chest.
You felt relief. Now, when it comes to taking the opportunity where you see it, man, you can't think about it twice. Recently I was at an event, and this always happens to me for some reason. Like the guest speaker or like the main keynote, I run into them in the bathroom. In the bathroom, you don't want to like kind of like be awkward, But I take advantage, man. Like I remember my first ever networking event. The guy that was the keynote, he has a bunch of billionaire contacts and things of that nature. And the only time I see him alone is in the bathroom. So I tell him about my idea of Minds with Purpose. And that was like year one. That was my first ever networking event. And here we are today. A couple of days ago, I went to another event called Building Unicorns While Being Impactful. Same situation. I run into one of the founders in the bathroom. I'm like, I gotta think quick. I'm like, I like your sweater, man. I like it. Just to be remembered, man, because you need to stand up for yourself. You need to be loud. And to the point when you was talking about being the security and having the keys to all the doors, you notice their behaviors too. The sales people, the marketing people, the C-suite people. And I like to compare that to drivers. When you're a driver, anybody that gets in your back seat, you hear those conversations as well. So it doesn't matter if you're not where you want to be in life, but wherever you are at, you have to make the most out of it and try to learn the most. Every single experience you go through, how can I learn the most? Like, why is this happening to me? So that's the mindset that I've, taken. And thank you for sharing that story for sure, man. That was awesome. Our next question to you. One thing I noticed with your designs was the printout sheets and blueprints created to communicate your designs. Very crisp, by the way. How did you learn how to create jerseys, your brand and designs?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like, again, when I was at New Balance, bro, like having access to every floor and seeing how they had tech packs.
Tech packs, yo, man. The struggles you go through when you don't know what that word means, bro.
I don't know what that word means.
So tech pack is basically a technical version of your design. So that's what you normally would send out to a manufacturer.
Correct.
So it has all the specs that's needed to, complete your jersey or whatever art.
So like a mock-up, but like with everything like on the whole other level.
Details,
measurements, the fabric, the dimensions
the seams, like you see all these seams right here, like what's going here, like what's everything, bro.
So like I had access to that. So just being able to see like, oh, okay, this is what they normally send out to manufacturers. So this was like, again, 2008 for me. And I had just started using Photoshop.
Nice.
And, I was just like, all right, I need to be able to send something to the manufacturer. At the time, it was just like our t-shirt printer or our t-shirt press person.
Correct.
So I'd always send them like artwork that was JPEG.
Yeah.
So it's like it wasn't vectorized. So I'm like,
you guys are getting a lot of game right here. JPEG, vectorized, like tune in.
So it was like, yo, if you send artwork that's not vectorized, like you're gonna get blurry merch.
Yeah.
So so just being able to see like what folks had at their desk, right? You had tech packs, you had what else? Tech packs, samples. So it's like, oh, I need to be able to have a swatch, right? Yeah. So it's like I need to know what the fabric looks like or how it feels. So just having access to that and knowing that, allow me to like, take my fashion game to the next level.
No, I love that for you, bro, because that's what people should be doing. Like, again, like, don't just be sleeping and work, like, wherever you work. Like, really wake up. You're there for a reason. Wherever it is that you're at, take advantage of it. So I'm glad that that's what introduced you to learning, and like now you know these things. Like Phil said, he doesn't know what a tech pack is. At one point, I didn't know what a tech pack was, and I'm here sending designs to these people, paying mad money for like screen printing. I'm like, yo, this doesn't look the same as. So you have to vectorize your design so it could come out exactly how you want. So to all those aspiring clothing designers, really learn the game before you start investing money into products that you wouldn't even wear. Really learn what's the best way to do these things, because that's the most effective way.
And even like your environment, just being at New Balance and like having the access to the floors to see those and doing the research into find out the tech packs and like doing it yourself, taking that leap, that's big, because it's what started your brand. So,
and just going back to the question, you were like, how did I come up with my designs? Like music, right? I'm a hip hop head, so it's like I used to watch all these music videos and seeing like the Hype Williams, like how everything was like styled and stuff. I was like, yeah, this is dope. So like for me, like that was my mood board. I would look at some of these videos, and I grew up during the throwback era, like with Mitchell and Ness, when they had like these $300 jerseys. So I'm like, I couldn't afford a $300 jersey. I couldn't even afford the swingman. So I was like, yo, I gotta design my own stuff. So yeah, like being in that era of hip hop, like everything was like a mood board. I'm like, oh word, I'm gonna take like elements of like Fab's wardrobe or Dipset's wardrobe and combine it into like what I like.
Yeah.
So
there wasn't no Canva back then, so he'll take those things and apply them in real life. I say that because a lot of people nowadays, they'll go design their mood board on Canva and it stays there.
Yeah.
They don't apply no effort to actually making it come true. So that's awesome that you were able to do that.
Yeah. And then let's go to the neighborhood collection. So being a fan of basketball, how did the C's winning the chip this year like influence your Banner 18 collection? And before they won the chip, did you like already have that in plan because of the season that we had before, like going into the playoffs? Like we had it secured.
Yeah. So I think we had just wrapped up the By Any Means Necessary collection. This was in January. This was in February. February of last year, and I didn't like sales wise, like I didn't hit the numbers that I wanted, and I was like, damn, I thought we were gonna make a killing, and I was like, all right, whatever. Let me learn from the mistakes from that rollout. And it was February, like towards the end of February, the All-Star break had just like wrapped up, and I was like, yo, I feel like the C's might make it deep into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me, because I did a soft launch, that last year. I had like the neighborhood shorts, but it was a different color. It was I had like these black and white Dorchester shorts, and I had these white and orange or orange and white Roxbury shorts. So I didn't have any connection to like anything, right? I didn't have any connection to the C's. So this time around, I was like, let me focus on community.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Because again, like my background, I'm a product designer, and one thing that I learned from being a product designer was just like, you need to do research.
Correct.
You could create a dope product and not have a community to support it.
Yeah.
And now you're stuck with mad
dope product.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Nowhere to go.
So what I realized was, I was like, yo, being in Boston, people love the Celtics.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then also people love
not even only in Boston. I was from New York, loving the Celtics. So
you feel me?
Yep.
So it's like people have an affinity for like their sports team and then where they're from. And I was like, okay, let me identify the community. Let me define what they love, and then I'm going to create a product and create like that whole merge. You know what I mean? So that's what that was, and I was like, all right, cool. Let's come up with a date to drop this. So we were supposed to do a commercial with Shea Petty, but that ended up not happening. So we ended up like just having a resort to doing a photo shoot. So we did a photo shoot in March, we did a photo shoot in April. And then at that time, Celtics was like, they were killing it.
Yeah, they were.
So when May came around, we already had like the assets for this campaign.
Oh wow.
So now I was like, all right, cool. Came try figuring out like, yo, what do we say for the name? And I was like, all right, cool. Came up with Good in Every Hood. So Good in Every Hood was like the tagline for the shorts.
We good in every hood.
You feel me? And the whole concept behind Good in Every Hood was basically like being able to, hoop and being nice. So if you're nice, you can then show up anywhere. So that was the concept that we were going with. And we had the assets already. We did photo shoots in the South End. We did photo shoot in Dorchester. We did a photo shoot in Roxbury. So we were able to just like, connect with some of the athletes from Boston that were known. And yeah, that rollout was successful, man. So it was like we planned it. We had our strategy was like, yo, let's try to align ourselves with the C's.
Yeah.
Right? And
he said the C's.
The C's. And then let's drop it when there's a parade.
Yeah.
You feel me? So when that happened, it aligned perfectly, dog.
Amazing.
Must have been a great feeling.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
I really love the community aspect. As someone who is still trying to learn the Boston scene, I love how each different jersey represents a different community. We're all about impact, and I don't like when people just categorize Boston as Boston. No.
Yeah.
If you're from Dorchester, that's Dorchester. There's different schools there, different programs. If you're from South End, that's South End.
Yeah.
So it's really like representing where you grew up and like, your culture, essentially. So I really love that community aspect. Our next question, going back to moving to LA to make the dream work, why has it been a trend to leave a city like Boston to go chase your dreams in larger city markets like LA, Atlanta, Miami to make it happen? Do you see this trend changing, and what advice would you give to a younger person looking to do the same thing?
I think what I learned from my experience when I had moved to Los Angeles was you lose so much when you go to a different city.
Yeah.
Because all the connections that you have, like,
gone.
It's gone. It means nothing. Like, if I'm in LA and all of my connections are in Boston, it's like you have to start all over too. I think the advantage that I had when I was in Los Angeles was I had access to celebrities. I think the only good thing that came out of being out there was like, me being able to do product placements with like people in the entertainment industry. But other than that, like that was it. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, I was homesick, even though I thought like I would never be homesick, and I was like, man, I'm out of here. I don't even need to be in Boston. But I was like, as soon as I got out to LA, I was like, damn, I miss everybody in Boston.
And what advice would you give to a younger person looking to do the same thing?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah,
don't do it. Just because you have to establish yourself in your hometown.
Say that one more time.
Bro. Yeah, you gotta establish yourself in your hometown, because if you go to another city and you like are known there, right? Then it's like you really like. Then they're gonna know you from like being in that city. Yeah. Like you're known in that city, and then it's like back home, it's like, yo, that's Jumba. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, yo, you need to be able to like plant your flag in your home base. And my last job, I've been working in tech for like 7 years. And the last company that I was working at, and shout out to Paul, the CEO from old CEO, a company that I used to work for. He told me about like this 1,000 true fans concept. And I was like, he was like, yo, because I told him, I was like, yeah, man, I'm thinking about going to another city, not moving to another city, but like launching in another city. And he was just like, yo, but do you have 1,000 like true customers? Like, I was like, nah, not yet. And he was like, you should probably get 1,000 true customers first. Yeah. So that changed my focus. That slowed us down in terms of like, going to a different city. But, I feel like
in the long run.
Yeah, I feel like I'm establishing, myself in the brand in Boston. And again, it's like that changing my focus. Because again, if this was like 10 years ago, I would have been like, no, I gotta go to New York or LA. You know what I'm saying? So I would just recommend, like, if someone's considering like going to a different city, don't do it. Like, establish yourself here.
And even so, like, I was in high school, I was in Foxborough, a little bit outside the city, but I had my way back and forth. Like, I used to spend all weekends in Rosendale going to church. I had mad connections from the church in Rosendale, so that's like kind of where I built my foundation. But going to Penn State after high school, I lost like all those connections. So like coming back, it's kind of like starting from ground one and like rebuilding those connections. Like luckily, I had my cousin Stanley, who's like big in Boston, so like he was able to introduce me to a lot of heads and kind of build my foundation from day one. But I understand the fact of like leaving the city, going somewhere else, and then coming back and like starting from block one. So that's where I feel like I'm at. But I feel like it's going pretty well. So I was happy to be back in Boston, just like continue forward.
My thing with that is since the day Minds with Purpose started, it was to push people to work with what they have, with the community members that's around them. I'm always saying that you have the Gary V's around you. You have the Earn Your Leisures around you, but you have to find them. You have to actually put in the work. Going to LA, it's not going to make it easier for you. Going to Miami is not going to make it easier for you. If anything, like you said, it's going to make it harder. You're in a territory where you don't know how to move around. You don't know what's the culture there. You don't know what's the streets there, transportation. Like, those things play a part. And we're big mental health advocates with our brand. And that stresses you out, man. When you're the new kid on the block, I remember moving to Lawrence. I'm like, damn, I'm used to, doing Sweet 16s. I'm used to, doing having basketball teams. Now I'm in a whole new city, in a whole new state where I'm nobody. Like, that feels lonely. So I definitely hear you, man. I agree. Don't do it. Start with where you are. Build those 1,000 true fans, and then think about going somewhere else.
100%.
So next question. So like the current state of Boston, it seems like there's more people of color and like underrepresented individuals that are starting to gain momentum. Would you be able to mention some of the people you view in the city as like leaders in the entrepreneurial, creative, fashion, music spaces? And can Boston become a place where you could build a network and like follow your dreams and like create your aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a dope space in Boston now. Like, I feel like we're in our Harlem Renaissance era.
Yes, sir.
There's so many companies that are doing amazing stuff. You mentioned Stanley. Stanley's a good friend of mine. Shout out to Stanley and Renovest.
Those guys too up there. I see them on social media. I don't know them personally, but I love their brand.
Shout out to Maxine. Herv. There's a bunch of Kickback Boston. We partnered with them to do the watch parties. The Boston Legends Group. Also Dart Adams, Sean. I think we're at a space now where it's like we don't need permission from like other like brands and stuff. And I think that was like one of my things where I was like, yo, why isn't this brand rocking with us? Like, we have so many freaking big corporations here, and they're not really tapping into like the creatives in the city. And again, like I said, like I've just been focused on like doing like my stuff. And when we ended up just focusing on our stuff, that's when these brands started to attract come to us. You know what I mean? So Remy Martin came to us, and Reebok also reached out to us to be part of the Neighborhood Watch party. So again, it's like we're in a different time period where it's like, yo, people, if you have like a decent following, not even like saying like 20,000, like if you have like people that can come to an event, I feel like brands are being like, oh, maybe we should like, partner up with them, or test a collection or whatever. So I think we're in a dope space. But like, shouts out to everybody that's like doing stuff. Even if they don't have these big brands rocking with them, like, yo, still
keep going,
still keep at it, keeping at it. So yeah, I think we're in a dope space. But I mean, there's so many brands, man. Kingdom Royale. Who else? Can't think of anything else right now.
That's okay.
In other words, build. If you have that dream, if you have that creative, fire in you, put it out there. People will come to you. Don't wait for people to come to you for you to start building. Start building and take that leap of faith. If anything, you reach out to us and we'll be able to help you out. But keep believing in you. Our next question, talking about so many community, partners, community brands that are doing amazing. What does community and partnership mean to you? Partnership with the schools to provide jerseys for school teams. Partnership with FENA, the so phenomenal agency, to create the Real Recognized Rio Award, honoring unsung community leaders in and around Boston who are deeply committed to serving their neighborhoods. Unwavering dedication to the betterment of the community. The Boston Legends release, utilizing the Patrick Owen canvas jersey and having Millie's in the commercial. And the neighborhood commercial with different people in the city of Boston like Stanley Remu and Coach Bree. What does partnership mean to you?
Yeah, I think partnership is like our life, like not a life, but it's our bedrock, right? Without these partnerships, we don't have access to certain communities, and then our reach can't go as far as we want it. But I mean, I like kind of going back to what you were saying, like you have a Gary V in your in your network. You have a Nipsey Hussle like in your network, you know what I mean, or Jay-Z. It's like I see the people that I have access to as those people, like you know what I mean, like Fenna, she does phenomenal work, you know what I mean, like she works with a lot of big corporations, so she is very talented in brand stories. So she brought us in to do some stuff with the WNBA. So just seeing like how like this era we're in was like, we're community focused, and I feel like especially right now, like with the current administration, not to be political, but I feel like we need to rely a lot more on community because we're gonna need it. You know what I'm saying? So, I think where we're going now is community. Like we're a community-based business. Like I got throw an event, and if I don't have access to community, it's just gonna be needing that and that thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to think about like, what community are you serving? Because that's your users, right? It's like, if you don't have your community, then what are you really doing? You have a hobby.
Exactly. And your network is super important. Like the power of the phone, like who you have in your phone contacts, you can pick up and call and ask them to partner, collab. It goes a long way, and it doesn't only take one person, it takes a community. Yeah, so really cool.
100%. I made a post today, and the post said, I can't do all the good the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. So it's literally like, being selfish with yourself, but being selfless to everybody else and including everybody else, because we have to put ourselves first, because we can't go around filling other people's cup until our cups is filled. But we need to make sure that once our cup is filled, that we go helping everybody else out. And this year, our main goal is to be as collaborative as possible. Whether you have 10 followers or 10,000 followers, we believe in you. So we want to work with you and be that platform to help your aspirations come true. Because when we started, whether it was Phil starting to shoot content, me starting to put together events, we wanted that support. So we want to be those people to give it back to the next individual.
Exactly. And then running it back a little bit, the partnership with Reebok, how did they reach out to you? Like, where did that start, and how did you get plugged in with them? That's really cool.
That was, like I said, we had a crazy year, man. With the success from the neighborhood collection, like we put out mad content, and I think that was one of the things that allowed us to get some visibility. And like towards the end of the summer, one of our friends from Kickback Boston was basically like, hey, like we know someone that works at Reebok that would love to see if they could be a part of the neighborhood watch party. And I was like, whoa. and she was Rachel was like, can y'all take a call Friday? I'm like, what? Like, you damn right. So it was towards the end, like I said, towards the end of the summer, and we had the watch party lined up for October. So I was like, I was like, all right, cool. So what does this look like? Look, we had that conversation. And basically it was just like, yo, we can give y'all like a bunch of, merch. And it kind of allowed us to, get a lot of folks at our event. We did a giveaway where we basically had like, the first 50 people to purchase a jersey. We get some free sneakers.
Oh wow!
So it came out like that way, and then we just continue to build our relationship with Reebok, and every event that we plan on putting out, like we want to incorporate them.
Sure.
So we got plans to do more events. Like I know the watch party was like our first time doing like an activation like that, but again, going back to what I was saying, I feel like the next 4 years, we're gonna need a lot of community. We're gonna need ways to de-stress, and I'm an avid, gym goer. I
can tell, bro. You'll be here flexing on us. Flexing on us about flexing. You'll be here. Why?
Hey, shout out to Olympics, man. No, I'm joking. But nah, man, I use fitness as therapy, man, and I feel like kind of like pivoting into another potential activation, more so like health and fitness. So we want to incorporate Reebok, and then if there's other like sports beverage companies, and we could incorporate them into like what we got going on for 2025. So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to give you your flowers here while you are here.
Appreciate
that event was an amazing event. It brought myself out, Phil. I saw people from Lawrence there too. So your word is getting out, not just in the Boston neighborhood. Like I was like, yo, I think I know that girl from Lawtown. So it's spreading through. And again, great activation, great people were there. I had a great time, felt welcome, enjoyed myself. There was actually one of my boys from New York there too, who he's a part of like the Celtics watch squad, the Harmony and Fleezes. Like I met him at the watch parties in Big Nine Studio B that the green, I forgot his name, but that he used to throw. So it was cool to see him there again.
That's crazy.
So it was a
small world.
It was a super small world. But this brings us to our last question. You were talking about 2025 and what's coming. There's a saying many people use in terms of business and personal goals. Never let them know your next move. But we wanted to ask you on our show today, what is your next move?
Next move. Let me get some thought into this. And I don't want to get sued.
You gotta be careful now.
My next move really is just building more community. Like I said, I think we're getting to a point where we need to not rely so much on
external help,
and we need to be able to like form community
internally.
And I think doing stuff like this, communicating with people online, I think that's what we're trying to lean more on, focus more on, because again, like we had this conversation offline. It's like, being on Facebook and Instagram, like you have all your content there, that's great and all, but if they decide to shut it down, it's a wrap. Like how can you move all your assets, your followers,
your community,
into your community? How are you gonna do that? So it's like, you need that in real life activation. So
No, appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you being here today.
Likewise.
This is awesome, bro.
Appreciate you.
Likewise.
So any last words, Phil?
Yeah, so we appreciate you having over. I'm glad that we got to make this through. Like and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of events coming up too, and we'd like you to be a part of that. So definitely want to build a relationship and keep this going.
Most definitely.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to the Talks with Purpose podcast. Peace.